Hello and welcome to Adventurable Gaming. My name is Ryan, and in this episode, I'm going to show you how I constructed these small cellar doors for your gaming table. Let's go check it out. Okay, let's get at this. I'm using a chipboard. This is an 1/8 inch thick. You can use whatever medium you have at hand. I picked this up at the Home Depot. You can find a chipboard in the form of clipboards at dollar stores. So look in your area, see if you can find it. Using my Alta knife to cut the chipboard is a little harder, but can be done, as you can see. I'm going to mark out 1.25 inch squares. Find that's a nice little square for the size of the cellars. Now that you have your base done, we're moving on to the side walls. I'm cutting 1.25 inch squares again out of the Ready Board brand styrofoam. This is the easy peel kind most of the time. I'm going to take the squares, cut them into triangles for the side walls, and then get ready to mount them to the board. Okay, now that they're cut, we're going to make sure they're lined up. I'm cutting them to inch high, so just taking off the top of one part of the triangle. Cleaning up, make sure they match the size, because I kind of mixed them up when I was out cutting them all, so they're probably not going to match the same. If you're building one at a time, it's not too bad. Take your base, I'm just using the Eileen's tacky glue to mount them to the chipboard. Try to make them as square as possible. Okay, cutting out the top of the cellar door. Once you have it sized right, take your glue it on either end. And then I'm going to use pins to help hold it in place so it doesn't slide as it's drying. Because I'm doing 4 at a time, you need to make sure everything's going to stay in place. Now that it's dry, I'm going to remove the pins and move on to the next step. I'm using an emery board just around the corners of all the sharp edges. Cleans it up and kind of gives a nice weathered look. Now we're going to draw in the wood grain. This is a longer step in the process. It'll be worth it in the end. If you've seen my other videos, you know the process of this. Take your time. I'm using the ink pen. I've noticed now that when I start to Mod Podge it later on, that if you don't Mod Podge, it will bleed through to your paints. So just be aware of that. And it makes it really hard to hide. There you have it. Video editing makes them way faster. Moving on to the door. I'm gonna mark it out. You gotta remember, each cellar that you've built is gonna be slightly different, so each door will have to be different if you're making a lot of these. Each time I'm cutting a little off to get that nice tight fit. It's a little more work, but in the end the product will be custom, and that's why we do this hobby, to make it our own. Drawn in the wood grain again. There's a lot of that in this video. Go figure with the wooden cellar door entrances. Forgot to do the emery board first, so I just did it then. It really doesn't matter which step you do. Just gluing it in place. It's Okay, next cellar door. This one's going to be sitting open. So it's going to take a little more finagling, a little more work to get it to the spot you want. Okay. Glue's starting to set up here, but I find that it's going to keep falling close. So I'm going to use pins again. Just jamming it through the side wall of the cellar. And just keep adjusting till you find the right position you want to have the door in. I just use one pin. You can use 10 if you really needed it. But okay, now onto the door handle. I'm using little jewelry rings for making, go figure, jewelry. Found them at the Dollar Tree. I found that they were right size and they looked really good. I'm also using some polystyrene tubing that I cut in half for the top of the latch there. It's a little hard to see. They'll pop a little more when we put some color on it. Alright, now that the door handles are on, we're going to move some to the hinges. I'm using some EVA foam sheets that you get in the craft section at most stores. I picked the whole pack up at the dollar store, and I'll have enough forever. Just cutting out the hinges, just trying to shape them a little. They're tough to work with as it's so small. And now that you have your hinges cut out, I'm going to attach them to the doors. Taking my knife there, I bent them a little just to help them stay in place a little better. This is a reminder, don't use super glue to attach anything to the foam. It will eat it and it will ruin all the hard work you put in. Now you can put these hinges on and leave them at that. I'm going a little step further, and I'm using these little pins I also picked up at the Dollar Tree. I believe they're for making earrings. You kind of slide stuff onto them and loop around other parts. Just a lot of glue to keep everything in place. I'm just pushing it through the EVA foam hinges that I've made into the styrofoam. As you can see, I struggled with getting them on. Took a little bit. I think in the end, would probably not do it again. But who knows, maybe I will. I really like the look of it though. Alright, good old Mod Podge and black acrylic paint. Just coating the whole surface. You want to cover everything to protect it and strengthen the piece itself. I don't show in the video, but I do paint the bottom, the seal in the chipboard. I want to make sure everything's coated, so if I choose to seal it with an aerosol spray later on, everything's protected. Every nook and little cranny. Once you have a Mod Podge and they're dry, that's kind of a key step. I'm going to add some burnt umber to 2 of the doors. Mix in some water, thin it out, before I applied it. It goes on nice and smooth that way. This is just cheap craft paint, it's not anything fancy. Especially for terrain, I don't want to waste the good paint too much. Just liberally coat everything, even the hinges, the door handle. Doesn't matter, because you're going to go over those details later. Okay, gonna paint the next doors campground green. It's dark green. It's the same color we used on our actually first video, the door. Same thing as the brown. Just coating everything in green. Now cinnamon brown we're using on the next step. Covering the whole piece and a layer of cinnamon brown. Making sure I don't get into the recesses like I did with the burnt umber. Which helps bring out the wood grain even more in this style. Right on. Now we're going to use some olive green on the green set. I know I'm jumping between brown and green, but remember they're drying as I'm going in between. So it kind of saves me time by changing colors. And same as the brown, I'm just coating everything. Surface. I'm trying to do my best not to get into the lower recesses that the campground green got into. Moving on to the dry brush. I'm using golden brown for that dry brush. As the name implies, it's dry brushing. Your brush should be dry. You don't want any moisture on it. And you want to wipe off any excess on the brush, so it's very little. You're catching the top highlights. I'm using my finger there to get off any excess also. I'm switching brushes midway. I realized I was using the wrong brush. I really like my makeup brushes for doing the dry brush. They're very short bristles. They just do a wonderful job catching all the raised areas and holding the right amount of paint in the brush. The next dry brush on the green doors. We're using the lush foliage for this. Remember, it's your build if you're going to do this. So use what colors you want. You want to do red doors? Red, actually, you're going to have to do that, a set of red doors. Probably build those off camera. Right on. Now picking out the detail on this last cellar door. I'm using a Weapons Bronze by Army Painter. It is a metallic. You could use any other kind of metallics if you want. I just chose this because I find it just looks really nice. Taking my time to go over the details. You gotta use this little smaller brush as you do this. Take your time because it's gonna mess up all the other hard work you put in painting the doors. Right on, just using the black now. I'm going in and filling in the inside of the door not on the sides, but on the back and bottom, to give it depth. It makes it look like it's a dark opening that you're heading into. You don't need to worry about painting in anything on the inside then. Okay, the final step is the wash. This is a homemade wash I made. It's really easy to make. You just need water, black acrylic paint. I put a little brown in there just to change up the color. And you need a flow aid, so whether it's your dish soap, I used a bit of jet dry rinse aid. The biggest key is don't put too much in, or it gets really bubbly. You don't want that. And then I just coated the whole pieces, all of them, just every part of it. I'm using a little container just to hold it, to apply it. Like I've said in the past, usually I just dump it on, but I find as I'm doing these videos, I'm trying to keep the space cleaner so you guys can see things better. There you have it. Little touches. There you have it. There's Cellar Door. I really hope you enjoyed that video. Hit the like and subscribe button and then down at the bottom, and I'll be seeing you on our next adventure.